Okay, here we are in London. It gives me great pleasure to be here with Sadie Jemmett.
Thank you.
Who on June the 21st brings out a new album, the fourth album, Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it's a terrific piece of work, produced by Joby Bacon. Yes.
Yeah.
And tell us about Joby. What's he brought out of you on this album?
He's worked with, so he's based in Canada, but there is quite a story actually. So Joby and I actually went to school together.
Oh.
And we had a look band. And then he went off and I went off and, never didn't see him. And then about 6 years ago, he got in touch with me through the Book of Face and basically just said, my God, you're doing music, I'm doing it. He said that he had become a producer and was living in Canada.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, we've got to work together. And he's worked with some great people. He's worked with Cowboy Junkies. He's worked with the Wailing Jennies.
Yeah.
In the Wailing Jennies. Actually, 2 of the Wailing Jennies are playing on the album.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Did they play on the whole album or just
well, so we've got Adam Dobre, who's playing guitar. He does a lovely solo on the second song, Bitter.
Yeah.
And then Richard Moody is playing violin in sort of various places. And mandolin. And he plays mandolin on Rescue Street.
Wow. Well, funny enough, we just mentioned Rescue Street before the interview, and it's the track that opens the album. And a lot of it is to do with the production. It's got a lovely sort of free-flowing feel to it. It's sort of a happy song.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's a happy song. I mean, it was kind of a bit of a sort of tongue-in-cheek song because it's about dating and it's it's about the kind of push-pull of relationships and stuff. So yeah, it's got a kind of tongue-in-cheek quality to it. So I wanted to keep it light and keep it kind of
I'd say all the songs on the album have a message. How do you get inspired by all these songs? There's a story behind every song on the album, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pick a song.
Well, actually, I don't normally do this,
got stories.
But I'm so impressed by the album. I love every track of this album. So we're going to talk about every single track on this album. We just mentioned Rescue Street.
Yeah.
So the second song, Bitter, which features Danni Nicholls as well.
Yeah.
Tell us more about Danni.
So Danni is a friend of mine. I've known her for 7 or 8 years now. Since she was kind of starting out. Danni's done really well. Do you know her music?
No.
She's a fabulous singer-songwriter. She's starting to be nominated for awards now. And as you can hear, she's got a beautiful, real soul country kind of Norah Jones voice. And so I actually wrote Bitter quite a while ago.
I was about to say, 'cause I think that's the oldest song on the album, isn't it?
Yeah. And I never really recorded it. I did a rough recording of it in my old manager's house, actually, Steve. And then a few years ago, Steve sent it to me, and he said, I've always liked this. We don't work together anymore, but we stay in touch. And he said, I've always liked this song, So I kind of revisited it, and I thought, and I realised that actually it had quite a kind of country vibe, sort of. Sorry to use the word Americana, but it had that kind of vibe to it, and I thought, wow, Danni would be. At first, I thought it would be great to have it as a duet, and then I thought she would be great, and so
that's great.
She obliged.
Funny enough, you just mentioned Americana, and said, "Oh, sorry, I should mention that." And why is that? Is it you don't want to be pigeonholed into Americana artists? How would you describe your genre of music? Because I myself, I sort of call it country folk.
I don't know. I mean, I think the term Americana. I mean, I understand why people use it, but I think that it's so broad.
Well, it is.
So, it's difficult because I think for me, I'm not massively into country music. I do, however, I am influenced by people like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Fleetwood Mac, people like that. I mean, I go as far country as maybe someone like Townes Van Zandt,
There's a bluesy element in some of the songs as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there is so many crossovers from country, from blues. If you originate with blues, which was the original, you know, and sort of spiritual gospel, there are so many crossovers into what we term as Americana now. You know, it's folk, it's blues, it's soul, it's rock and roll, it's, you know, it's everything. So yeah, it's a kind of a very broad term. It's a very broad umbrella for me.
But you know, it's a big growing genre of music at the moment, Americana. So jump on the bandwagon. Why not?
I don't see it as a genre, because I see it as including all these different styles which have been around forever.
Yeah.
So, you know, blues has been around forever, folk's been around forever, country's been around forever, you know, R&B's been around forever, and Americana covers all that. So people talk about it like it's something new. As far as I'm concerned, it's
you're absolutely right.
It's been around for a long time.
Well, I'll say we are going to talk about every song on his album. The third song on the album, it's a song I'm sure you've been asked about in every single interview, and it's very, you know, very serious subject. Don't Silence Me.
Yeah.
You know, it's with the bloody Me Too movement.
Yeah. So that song originated round about 2017, end of 2017. A very close friend of mine who lives in LA, who's an actress, she called me up. I could hear immediately in her voice that something was very wrong, and she basically disclosed to me that quite a few years ago, when her career was just beginning as an actress, she had been drugged and sexually assaulted by a very famous film director. And as it did, I think, for a lot of women, especially in the film industry, when the Me Too movement started to happen, these experiences, these traumas that women had been through started to kind of bubble up, and traumatized, re-traumatized a lot of people. So she then consequently went through sort of 8 months of you know, hell, really, you know, where she couldn't work, and she was just, you know, really, really sort of suffering with PTSD. So I'm a songwriter. The way that I respond to things often is to write. And then what happened was, a few months after that, I was watching a documentary about Weinstein, and it was just amazing. It was just all these women coming forward and talking about that whole kind of power, abuse of power that was going on, that had been going on, that has been going on
for centuries,
for centuries, you know. And I just was sitting on the sofa and found myself reaching for a pen and wrote the song. Yeah. And then, I mean, it was a while from that point of writing the song, because, you know, you write a song, you've got no idea whether it's any good, you know, until you...
It's a controversial subject as well. You don't know whether it's going to go against you or for you. Or...
Yeah, very, you know. And so I wrote it, I think, primarily because I needed to. And then I had it in my kind of bag of songs that I took to Joby in Canada. This was probably about 6 months later. And I played it to Joby, and he was like, okay, well, yeah, we're doing that. We're doing that. I thought, oh, maybe it's good. And he did an amazing job of producing it, you know, putting Hammond on it, and, you know, it was great, because, again, I didn't want to pigeonhole it into a particular... It's
strange, really, because if you don't listen to the lyrics, so you see it on the radio in the background, you think, oh, this is quite a happy tune, and you listen to the lyrics, to be honest, there's quite a strong message in this.
I know, it's interesting. And I deliberately, actually, I think we didn't want it to be a kind of dirgy sort of miserable song. We wanted it to be anthemic. We wanted it to be for people who had suffered, to raise them up and to, you know, to give them a voice, really. So I sent it to my friend, and then she, you know, and it was really, I think she was very touched, and it was very helpful for her, I think, to have someone do that for her. And then we had this idea of her making a video, and it was amazing, because it just organically kind of got snowballed.
Yeah, tell us more about the video, because you don't appear in it yourself.
I don't, no. So I asked my friend, Mari, she's called Mari Morrison, if she'd be interested in making a video. And she thought about it, decided that she would. And I mean, I was thinking she'd go off, you know, like with a phone and yeah, make a little video. But the next thing, she decided that she wanted to fundraise to make the video. I think primarily because she wanted to include other women from the Me Too movement into the video. So she did.
So they're not actresses, they're actually people from the Me Too movement, are they? Or
they're people from they're survivors.
Yeah, wow.
They're survivors. Yeah. A lot of them. I mean, there's 40 women in it, and I don't know whether they all are because people didn't necessarily disclose.
Yeah.
But there's so Lily Bernard, who's quite a high-profile Me Too survivor, who was partly sort of helped to put Bill Cosby in jail. She's in it, and other women. So she fundraised, and she, you know, raised like, I don't know, $10,000, and they made the film. And I, at that point, it was like having to let my child leave home. You know, I just had to hand the song over. You know, and it has become its own.
I say, is it taking a life of its own kind of thing?
Totally. I mean, the videos had, you know, I think we're on about 170,000 views now.
Yeah.
I've had letters from women, emails from people saying thank you for writing this song. It's been huge.
What does that mean to you when you do get personal letters like that?
It means the world. Yeah. I mean, I think as a songwriter, that is that is incredible for me. You know, that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
To touch people in that way, to inspire people in that way. Yeah.
I think the great overriding message as well about Don't Silence Me is it's not just reach out to women, but it's also reach out to men.
Absolutely.
You know, and
I'm
there are a lot of nice men out there, you know, but you do get some men who are still in caveman times, you know.
I'm really glad that you brought that up because, you know, this message, you know, men are sexually abused as well and assaulted. And men are affected by it because men have sisters and wives and mothers and daughters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, you know, if somebody is assaulted in that way or raped, it will impact the lives of men as well, you know, always. So, yeah, it's, and I actually, one of the things that I would love would be to have a man cover the song.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, because I think it would just give it another, it would just give it another spin.
I'll get on the phone to Elton this afternoon.
Thank you.
Well, all the best for Don't Silence Me, because it's a powerful song, and check it out if you've not heard it.
Thank you.
Fourth song on the album, A Fighting Chance. I love song.
I love song. Yes, yes. I wrote that song after a fight with my partner. And one of those fights where afterwards you're sitting there and you're thinking, that was really unnecessary. Why did I say that? Like, you know. And he'd gone off, and I was sitting at home, and it was snowing outside, I remember. And it was very occasionally I will do a song in about half an hour. I call it downloading. I'll just download it, and that one was downloaded. So by the time he came back, I'd written him the song, and I played it to him.
And kisses and cuddles followed, and everything all went well. One of my favourite songs of the album as well, Good Friday. A song about journey and forgiveness, as you described it at the Green Note concert the other week. But it's more of a personal song to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I had a very bizarre upbringing, a strange upbringing. I had a mother who was quite unwell, mentally unwell. And she was just sort of unable really to hold a home together for me and my brother. So consequently, from the age of probably about 5, really, she would just leave. She'd come back, but she'd come back and leave. Initially, my dad kind of held it together for a while, and then after, when I got to about the age of 10, we were just put into living with families, and I lived with about 9 different families growing up. I still, I would still see my mum in the holidays, and stuff like that, and my dad. But so I had this very difficult relationship with my mum, and you know, a lot of her. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, you know, because I obviously wasn't inside her head, but you know, that it's difficult because I think she also. I feel like she kind of gave up a bit on us, you know. She became very involved in sort of cults and spirituality and religion and stuff, and she placed that really above her children. So anyway, she so a few years ago she got ill with dementia, and then a month before I was due to go out and make the album, she died. And she was dying in the lead up, so there was sort of a couple of weeks where we knew she was going to die. And I sort of had to say goodbye to her, you know. But I was going through therapy at the time, and I felt like there were some things I needed to say to her. And so I would go to her and visit her at her care home, you know, and just like regular daughter, and take her flowers, and you know, I saw her regularly. And then I thought, no, I need to go, and I need to just like try and, because when someone's got dementia, it's like the person that you knew, the person that I grew up with wasn't there anymore. That person was gone. It was like a different person. So I had to try and reach that person, you know. And I was driving to her. It was raining, and it was Good Friday. It was on Good Friday.
Yeah.
And I just started to. I was thinking about what I wanted to say to her, and again, I downloaded.
Well, so your mother had dementia. So was she taking in what you were saying to her? And you know,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Possibly.
Yeah.
She was pretty far gone at that point. And she, you know, I had to try and reach, because her personality changed. She had been this very, very difficult woman. You know, she had a lot of her own stuff, you know, from childhood and struggles and stuff. But she was a very difficult woman.
Not normally is the way, though. We could blame our parents for certain things, and then you look into their history, their childhood, and then there's a knock-on effect.
And I don't, you know, and it's not a question of, you see, and that's what this song's about. It wasn't so much a question of blaming her. It was a question of saying what I needed to say to her.
Yeah.
And it was like I needed to pass back, because I think I spent a lot of time thinking that the reason she didn't want to be with me was because there was something wrong with me. You know, and that's what children do. They'll take it on themselves. And I wanted to kind of hand that back to her and say, you know, this was not about me. This was about you.
I'll say, you know,
I don't know whether you get that in the song.
Oh, totally, yeah. Well, you mentioned it as you introduced the song. It is a song about journey and forgiveness, and you know, and that's it. You've been on a personal journey, and forgiveness is the strongest thing here of all. Is turning a negative into a positive in a way.
Absolutely, and I whenever I introduce this song live, I always say, you know, people talk about forgiveness as being something that you switch on, you know, like you know, putting the kettle on, you know, oh, I'll just forgive you, you know, and I see it much more like a landscape that you arrive at after a very long journey, you know, and I did arrive there with her, and I do now feel at peace.
Good, and I think that's a lesson to be learnt here, and that's the sort of advice you can give to people, is to seek forgiveness, and it turns you yourself into a better, stronger person.
Yeah. But I think in seeking forgiveness, you have to process your own stuff, because I don't think you'll get there unless you've processed your own pain.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, so anybody's in a similar situation, come to speak to Sadie. New column in the paper soon. Song Passport, you know, the free spirit of wanderlust travel. Tell us about Passport.
Passport originally came about because I was kind of briefly involved with a guy who had a label in America in where was it? It was down south. I can't remember where exactly. And we were sort of talking about me joining the label, and he had an artist on his label, and he was wanting to make the title of his album was Passport. So this guy said to me, are you interested in doing some songwriting? Which I do, you know, I like writing for other artists as well. And so I said, yeah, and he said, well, I said, you know, any particular kind of theme or anything, and he said, well, his album, he wants to call his album Passport. And I thought, okay, that's an interesting. And then I thought, what can I do with that? And then I got the idea.
Nick the title.
Exactly. Well, as Lou Reed, the wonderful Lou Reed said, give me a title and I'll write you a song. Yeah. So it did very much come from that. And then it became a kind of love song, and I like this idea that, you know, when you fall in love, when you first meet somebody and you fall in love, that they kind of unlock you, you know, that suddenly you feel this sense of freedom, and you feel this sense of like power, and like that you can do anything or go anywhere, and they're your passport, you know.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Leonard's Waltz.
Yeah.
A certain songwriter, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's about a few things. So it's about Leonard, and it's about...
Is it Leonard Cohen, yeah?
Leonard Cohen, one of my great inspirations. And it's also about death. And I had... So my mother died just before I made the album, and then 2 weeks after she died, a very close friend of mine died as well. And 8 months before that, another friend had died. So there'd been all this death. And it's about an afternoon that I spent with my friend, and I knew that it would be the last time that I saw him. And he introduced me to the music of Leonard Cohen a long time ago. And so so I just wanted it to be like an observational piece of like, you know, this is, you know, I went to his house. He lived in Holland. I was doing a gig in Holland. Went to his house for the afternoon. We drank tea. Yeah. We talked about Brexit and Dutch architecture.
Did he stay awake?
Oh, God. No, but that's a line in the song. So the you know, every line in the song actually happened, and there's a bit in the end of the song.
When you say like those songs are personal, so when you perform them live, you know, like something like Good Friday, Leonard's Waltz, are they emotional to you when you're still doing them live?
When I first made the album, when I first came back with the album from Canada, I couldn't listen to it. That song and Passport and Good Friday, yeah. I couldn't listen to it. And yeah, when there's something about having an audience in front of you though that kind of stops you from. It's like you put on it's like what we were saying about Pete Townsend, you know, growing bigger in front of an audience. You know, you slip into your performer persona, and that usually with me that will stop me. I haven't actually cracked up in front of an audience.
You haven't done a Theresa May yet.
No, I have done in the studio when I've been trying to record songs.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's interesting.
It doesn't make your voice sound good.
Yeah,
you go sounds awful.
I don't think I've ever put on a record really, so it could be a good idea there for the next album to have an emotional breakdown on a vinyl. Another sort of song with a strong message, the wilder shores of love.
Yeah.
About a Syrian refugee, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that someone you knew personally, is it? Or?
No. It's a story that I read. And yeah, I was struck. I was really struck when I read this story about how normal this bloke's life had been, and how it was just like, you know, he had a job and he had a car and he had a family, you know, like just like you or I, and I think, you know, we use the word refugee, which depersonalizes people. You know, we see refugees as kind of almost being like a sort of, you know, a refugee is anyone who has, where the political situation has become so bad that they've actually had to leave their home and their possessions and their, you know, and it can be anyone from any race, any religion, any culture, any financial background, you know. And so I wanted to really highlight that in a song by really going into the journey of somebody, you know, what they've been through. This guy had been separated from his wife and child and was looking for them.
It's strange, you know, some people think, oh, they just tell you stories or the benefits, but, you know, I know a Syrian personally myself, and, yeah, he had a big family home, he had a big house, and it's all gone, it's lost, you know, there's no insurance payout on that, it's just gone, you know.
Well, imagine if, you know, if this country was suddenly, you know, and because we live in one of the most powerful, richest countries in the world, it's very hard for us to imagine being in such a vulnerable position where we can just be invaded and have our entire sort of society and economics destroyed, to the extent that we actually, you know, are risking life and limb to get on some flimsy boat just to escape, you know. But it could happen.
Yeah, it can happen.
You know? It could happen. Things change. You know, empires crumble.
They do, unfortunately. We're in line somewhere along the line. Second to last song, the wedding song. In brackets for Peter. So who's Peter?
Peter's a friend of mine. So Peter's a friend of mine who married another friend of mine, Louise.
So why is it for Peter, not Louise? Then?
Because he found the poem. So the story behind this is that I didn't actually. This is the only song on the album where the lyrics aren't mine. They come from a poem called "The Vows" by Michael Robert Simmons, I believe. Although check that. I'm pretty sure. You know, it's either Michael Robert Simmons or
Michael Simmons of Roberts, actually.
Michael Simmons Roberts. There you go. So I always get. He's got such a beautiful but kind of unusual name that I...
He's going to say Robert Simmons Michaels. So.
Yeah.
You almost...
Anyway, he's a brilliant poet, and he wrote a beautiful poem called "The Vows," which my friend Peter wanted for his wedding, and they asked me if I would put it to music. So I said yes, and I sang it at their wedding. And then I was really happy with it. I liked the song, and again, it was in my kind of bag of songs that I took to Canada. And it was lovely what Joby did with it, with the kind of, he built. I mean, that it sounds like an orchestra, but actually it's just layers of double bass and then a little bit of violin over the top. So yeah, and then I kind of thought, out of courtesy, because it had come about through my friend Peter, I thought,
that's nice.
Dedicate it to him.
Gives a talking point as well, you know, makes us want to know more. Yeah. Last song on the album, What You Give Will Come Back. Is that a song of karma? Is it, or?
That. I think also there is a kind of political message as well. I think, you know, when I wrote it, I was sort of thinking about this age of sort of extreme consumerism that we live in, where we are, you know, all around us, we're being told, you know, it's not enough, you need to have more, you need to have 2 cars, you need to have 2 holidays, you need to be buying this, you need to be buying that. And actually, there is, you know, it's become, I think that we're starting to get that polarization again, where, you know, you've got like huge wealth and huge poverty, you know, it's starting to happen in this country. So I was kind of thinking about that, and I was also thinking about how good it feels to reach out to somebody in need, you know, and it doesn't have to be financial, it can be emotional as well, or, you know, just a bit of that old-fashioned kind of sense of community, you know, and looking out for one another, and that actually feeds you.
Yeah.
It feeds your soul in a way that, you know, another car won't, I don't think.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Emotional wealth is what it's all about. That's
Yes.
what we need in life.
100%.
Talk to each other, be good to each other, love each other. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's... otherwise, you know, really,
what's the point?
What's it all been for?
Yeah. Excellent. That brings the end to the album Phoenix, and we talked about it, and people had to listen to it. It's out on June the 21st.
Yes.
And before we wrap this interview up, tell us more about yourself, you know, because I believe you're a bit of a punk rocker at heart.
Have you heard my Buzzcocks?
I have, yes. I've fallen enough. Yeah.
I do. I grew up with punk.
Yeah.
I grew up with punk. I have an older brother, and as any woman will tell you, if you've had an older brother, you're often very influenced by your older brother's music, you know, when you're younger. So I was very influenced by him. He had an incredible vinyl collection. Yeah. I mean, like, staggering. He had like picture discs. And
I hope he still got it.
No, he sold a lot. Yeah, it was really sad. But so he loved punk. He started off with punk.
Yeah.
And there was a Buzzcocks song, Ever Fallen in Love, which is one of my all-time favourite songs. I just love it. And I was listening to it a while back, quite a few years ago now, because it's on my first album. And I was listening to the words and I thought, it's actually a love song, you know? So I sort of picked up a guitar and just started noodling and came up with an acoustic version of it.
What other cover versions do you play around with when you're at home, you know, strumming away to yourself? Yeah.
I did it. I was playing around with Billie Jean the other day. But I mean, all sorts of things, you know. Funnily enough, I think that my little record label, Two Up, Two Down Records.
Yeah. I think this is the first release.
Bringing this first release of Two Up,
Phoenix,
Two Down Records, and we are going to, you know, the plan is that we want to get other people on board. We want to release other artists as well. But I think I'd quite like to do, because I've got quite a collection of covers now. I've got I've done a Townes Van Zandt one. I've done a Duran Duran one.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, that tells what it is, you know.
But it does work. It does
Yeah.
work. So I might actually bring out an album. I might in between this album and mine.
Well, let everybody buy Phoenix. In a year's time, we could buy the tour edition with the bonus disc.
Absolutely. No, but we might actually do an album covers.
Oh, excellent. I look forward to that.
Yeah, just while I'm collating my next album of original.
Is there any artists of today that you listen to?
Yeah, I've been listening to. Oh God, I always forget his name. Pac.
Not Pac-Man.
No. He's a rapper. I was listening to him today.
Yeah.
I always forget his first name. I do. I Kendrick Lamar as well.
Yeah.
I like rap. I do listen
That's
because
surprising.
I'm getting more and more into it because I think that it's got a socio-political edge that a lot of other music doesn't seem to have going on in quite the same way.
You don't hear rap so much in acoustic music, but it would work. So that's an idea for you in the future. For one song, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have collaborated in the past with there's a label called TC Records, a guy called Tom Caruana, and he has a lot of rap artists on his label, and I've done kind of backing vocals and stuff like that for him, and sort of collaborating writing.
Can you rap yourself?
No, I would never attempt to rap, ever. But I can do BVs for rap.
Yeah.
And who else am I listening to at the moment? God, it's awful when people ask me that and I can never say. Lots. Lots of stuff.
Let's talk about...
I was listening to Grace Jones today.
Oh, Grace Jones, she's fabulous, yeah.
I was listening to Island Life
again.
Oh what an album. And La Vie en Rose.
You know, when people think of Grace Jones, I always think of like the wacky side of her, but I don't really listen to the music side of her. You listen to her, absolutely,
Yeah.
It's quite unique.
Yeah. And Slave to the Rhythm, great album.
Have you seen her live?
I haven't.
Oh, you got to be mesmerised, totally mesmerised. More recently, there was the Pledge Music sort of had a collapse. But you've got a similar campaign, I believe. Well, you did have a similar campaign. Is it Patreon?
Patreon. Yeah, Patreon.
Tell us more about Patreon.
Yeah. I mean, Pledge, really. Awful story. Because the people at the top who, could have saved it, again, it was a question of, just pocketing. Horrible. And a lot of artists, I know someone who was caught up in it and lost money. Terrible. Patron is different because it's more of like donating a living wage for an artist. So, as we were discussing earlier, nowadays, in order to be a musician, you have to have a few other jobs just to keep yourself going, because the recording industry, in terms of actually selling your album, is pretty obsolete. You don't make money from that. You make money from touring. You can sell your records at your gigs. Maybe you make money through publishing, radio, whatever. But to actually make it through selling albums is very hard. So Patreon is a great way where fans can pay, anything from $1 to, because it's American, $1 to $20 a month, and then in return, similar to Pledge, they will get all kinds of concert tickets and handwritten lyrics and vinyl and special editions and stuff and songs that no one else has access to. And it's great. I've been doing it. I've got a few patrons, and my lovely patrons help me make Phoenix. So yeah, I'd recommend it. And it's then you just get a monthly income, and it enables you to be a musician and write and rehearse and do the things and tour and do the things that.
Oh, that's great. Well, bands out there, check it out.
Yeah, Patreon.
So the album Phoenix, out on June the 21st. I've heard it. It's fantastic. Every song's a killer. Well, great songs. So I look forward to it. And you got any more tour dates coming up soon?
They are to be announced.
Right.
Yeah, we're just in the process right now of kind of booking up, probably from September.
So you had sort of a mini launch date, didn't you, at the Green News at the Green Note in Camden. Great little venue.
Yeah.
And I believe you recorded an album there before, haven't you?
Yeah, my live album was recorded there.
So what is it like? What you like about that venue so much? It's a great little hidden gem of Camden.
I love it. I mean, firstly, they have incredible sound. Like, it's really, really good. It's intimate. It's I love it. It's got sort of these wooden floors, and it's got like brick walls and kind of red velvet curtain and candles. It's just got a lovely vibe. Very quiet.
The two girls that won the place, they won the award last year at the Country Music Awards.
At the UK Americana.
That's it.
Yeah.
And rightly so. Yeah. So it's like they support all the grassroots upcoming artists.
Well deserved.
Cracking venues, they support it.
Absolutely.
Always quality artists down there.
Yeah, and there's always good artists, and it's just a great place to go. You can get little nibbles. They've got great selection of wine. It's fab.
Excellent, and beer, as I discovered that night. Well, so it's been fabulous talking to you. I wish you all the best with Phoenix and all the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We can't silence you. Thank you.